right. Crystal, we're back.
Back. We're still here.
We're still here. This is episode 8 of the Investors Corner with Crystal and Anil. And we have a very special guest. Who's here with you?
Well, this is my better half, Rick Rumer.
Being all quiet. Yeah, I'm the husband.
Yeah, he's the man, the myth, the legend, and so we've been on an extensive 2-week tour, I guess you can say, with a lot of travels, a lot of business, and so thought it'd be fun to jump on a podcast and just play catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. You know, of course, you've mentioned a lot about Rick in our past conversations and your background and stories that you've shared. Of course, I've gotten to know you guys as well. And you guys definitely have a great story, especially for investors. And you guys are, a couple of investors in business together as well, right? And so I think it gives us a good perspective of other couples and that are investing or in business together as well, right? So I think it's going to be a cool little couple investors episode. All right.
Yeah.
So let's start about you guys' background, and we have heard a little bit about this, but Rick, yourself, talk to me about some of your background, where you're from, how you got into the in the investing world, real estate, however you want to start it. Give me a little bit of background on Rick.
Yeah, sure. Born and raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Bought my first rental property at the age of 19. Bought a place, lived in the master bedroom and rented out the other rooms when I was in college. So made enough off of that to pay my mortgage, pay all the utility bills, and still made cash flow on a monthly basis. So that was kind of a cool thing to do while I was in college. And then a few years after that, 8 years after that or so, we started accumulating some rental properties. Crystal and I had a few more. And then we rolled into 2008. And
Well, what were you doing before that? What was your career at that time?
At that time, I was working for J.P. Morgan Chase, financial advisor, helping other people with their money. And in 2008, the banks were getting bailed out. I think I could have been wrong. I could be wrong. I think Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, didn't take a bailout maybe until the end of the year, or maybe it's 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, our sales quotas were going up. They were doing everything they could to make the stock price of JP Morgan look as strong as possible. My pay structure was the incentives were, let's just say that it was difficult. So at that point, Jamie Dimon made a $33 million bonus that year. And that was, at that time, it was a record CEO bonus. And it was the year he got bailed out by the government. And I was like, man, I am sick and tired of making this company money, making that guy money. So that was when we decided to get into real estate full time. Like I said, we had a couple of more rental properties at the time.
Gotcha.
Some good experiences, some bad experiences. Crystal might have mentioned this on another episode. We had a renter that skipped town on us. They were late paying at the beginning of December, and then of course Christmas came around, and I knew they had kiddos, and I was on them like a hawk for the beginning of January, and I couldn't get a hold of them, and went to the house. And when I got to the house, there was water flowing out of the front door and out of the garage, and they had skipped town and turned off the heat and turned off the electricity. And in Houston, Texas, it froze, a hard freeze, believe it or not.
It never freezes there.
Wow.
And all the pipes in that particular house, the pipes were in the attic, and they froze, and all the drywall, basically all of the attic, caved in all over the house. And there was we had to redo the whole house.
That's definitely a horror story. So I want to go back a little bit. You covered a lot there. So
Sure.
first
Sure.
thing I wanted to touch on is the way you started in real estate.
Yep.
That's the ideal epitome of house hacking, right?
Sure.
Is acquiring a property, living in one side, well, ideally a duplex, living in one side, renting out the other, or two bedroom house, living in one bedroom, renting out the other. As long as you're owning it, it's paying down your mortgage, you're building equity, and you can, leverage that for other things. I can't stress enough, you know, the opportunity for people to early on investing or getting into real estate doing this, getting like an FHA loan, right? Like a first
Yep.
time home buyers loan, low down payment, almost like 3%, I believe it is, and you can get up to 4 units, right? With the first time home buyers loan. Ideally, most likely going to get approved or have the money for a duplex, live in one, make it your primary residence because you have to, rent out the other. Either you're going to be living for free or just about there, or even like you said, make a little bit of cash flow. So I think, you took probably one of the first smartest routes into real estate is that house hacking, right? So who came up with that idea, or you just like common sense to you?
I'm going to be 100% honest. It was my parents. They're like,
Okay. Hey.
they're like, you're going to be here for a while in school, and we took an inheritance from my grandmother and put that down as a down payment, and
Awesome.
that's how a 19-year-old qualify. A 19-year-old with no income qualifies for a mortgage. At least back in the late 90s at the time.
well, well,
Yeah.
that's how it's done. I mean, that's gold, though. I mean, that is a great starting point for anyone that's getting into that wants to get into real estate. To be honest.
Yep.
Okay, and so you said you were in college, so you're obviously full-time real estate now. So what were you in college for, though, that you're not using now?
Well, I studied. I went to Texas A&M, studied mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Um, got tired of that, or they got tired of me, and then went over to the agriculture school, and then got out of college. So actually, it graduated with an agriculture degree. Sorry.
Okay, and then so agriculture degree. Okay, so then we got to get into the origin story, right? And so how did you two meet?
Oh,
I'll let you go there.
that's interesting. So he never did anything with engineering or agriculture outside of college, and he worked for a private firm. It was on Wall Street. He missed that part. Coming out of college, so that's what he did.
Okay.
Financial advisor right out of college, and then he went to JP Morgan. So when he was you're still at the private firm when
Yeah.
we met. He was my best friend's financial advisor at the time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So long story short, it's actually a funny story, but as we were pulling into the restaurant, my friend and her husband go, "Oh, by the way, there's this guy that's going to join us for dinner." And I'm going, "What?" And my parents were actually there in town joining us for dinner as well. And I was like, "Okay, whatever, whoever this guy is." Didn't really think much about it. And the whole time we were at dinner, we never spoke to each other.
Yeah.
And the only thing he asked me was, "Hey, are you going to finish that margarita?" Because I was like, "Yeah, I'm done with this." And I was like, "No, you could have it." And so he finished my margarita. And afterwards, we went out with my friend and her husband, and
The rest is history.
the rest is history. Then we hit it off and was like, "Okay, it's a pretty good, cool guy. I like it."
Oh, it's a great story. It's a great story. And so, okay, so you were already kind of doing the house hacking. You were in real estate in a way. You were doing the financial advising as well. So, Crystal, at the time, what were you doing? Were you also in real estate? Were you already in real estate? Who was in real estate first? Besides, I mean, Rick at 19, yeah, of course.
He was, and then he was in real estate first, and then when we met, I worked for BMW for
Okay.
about over 3 years, close to 4 years, and so actually was big on internet sales right when that was in the very beginning. It was before what it is today. And
You were like one internet salespeople, two internet
The
sales.
first.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the very beginning of BMW. And so we were, it was kind of crazy to be on the cutting edge of that before it blew up to where it is today. And then I was a finance manager for BMW as well. So I was a bit on the finance side, but I was the one that would help get you bought by BMW. So
Okay.
I talked to the banks. I was the one convincing the banks that they needed to get you bought for that new BMW.
Gotcha. Cool. And so you guys come together, obviously. Now, I know you guys have shared stories about the different cycles you've been in, right? I think in 2018, you guys were in rentals. Was that the first project you guys,
2008.
2008, was that the first project you guys went after and worked on when you guys got together? And how was that decision? He's like, hey, we're going to put our money together and invest here. Like, how would that decision go?
Yeah, well, it was a year after we were married. We'd been together 3 years at the time. And we went to, in Houston at the time, there was Lifestyles Unlimited. I think they're all over Texas now. They might even be outside of Texas, but Lifestyles Unlimited helps people learn how to run rentals, accumulate them, and actually trade up to get into multifamily, 10 unit, 15 unit, and then 100 unit plus multifamily rentals. And so, anyways, I took some courses there, joined them, got mentored there, and that's when we started accumulating rentals. And it was, once again, it was a year or two later that I was like, I'm done working for the bank. I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so then we got rid of the rentals and got into fix and flips. Needed money to move and to get into flips, and partnered with a gentleman in my Sunday school class, and we went to Buffalo Wild Wings and had a couple of pints and came home and told our wives that we were going into business together.
So
And,
talk about that different philosophy. I mean, those are two different aspects, right? Talk about, what skill set it takes to do, rentals and the managing of that, and the fix and flip. It's a different, strategy, obviously. And how about that conversation? Hey, I'm going to quit my job and do this real estate thing full time. How'd that go?
Well, quite honestly, that's what we had to do in order to do it full time. Like, we didn't have enough in rentals
Right.
to replace our income, right? So it was like, let's liquidate those. Let's take the equity out of that, and that gives us money to flip, where that can not only provide income for me, but my partner that we teamed up with. So
Okay.
we're like, the only way we're going to be able to do this together is by making, larger ticket incomes. And so so that's why we went with flipping. It wasn't very long after that, though, that we did one, and we either misjudged it or we took too long on the rehab, and we couldn't get what we wanted to on the back end. And that's when we did our first owner finance.
Oh, okay.
We had a hard money loan, and I brought in an investor to borrow to I brought in an investor to pay off my hard money loan. And I think it, anyways, I brought an investor to pay off the hard money loan, and then we created an owner finance deal, and I think we paired them up together with the buyer. And we originated a note and assigned it immediately over to an investor that took care of our hard money loan, so we could get out of that project.
That was the
And
first one, right?
The same closing
and
when we assigned it over.
yeah, I mean, it immediately went right to him. And so that got us free and clear. And then we're like, okay, we can do this and make some money at it. Because owner financing, I love it. one of the first ones we structured was, they give you $15,000 or $20,000 down. I borrowed. Okay, let me take a step back here. I borrowed somebody's self-directed IRA funds.
Oh, okay.
So let's say I borrowed somebody's IRA funds at 8%. And then with those IRA funds, we bought a house in South Houston for $60,000. And then I went and
Free and
owned
clear. 60,000, free and clear,
free and
no
clear,
roll. Okay.
free and clear. And then I don't think we did any rehab to this particular one, but I found an owner finance buyer that we could sell it to for 90, I think. And so they gave us 20,000 down, which my partner and I split. We both put 20,000. We both put $10,000 in our pockets,
Mm-hmm.
and then we created a note with him for 70,000
Mm-hmm.
at 10%, and wrapped our more or with that we used a third party servicer that paid our note to the IRA funds that we borrowed. So on the monthly basis, that IRA was getting 8%
Payback.
on their money, and we kept the 2% cash flow, the differential there, on a monthly basis. And on that particular deal, and you can't do this because of Frank Dodd. You can't do this if you're doing this a lot. But we put a wrap on the. I'm sorry. We put a balloon on the rear end of that.
Wow.
Of 5 years. And so when they had to go get the property refinanced or buy it out, then we got paid again. Once again, the spread differential between what was owed to the IRA and so it was cool. So at that point, it was like light bulbs, because we made money on the front end, we made money every month, and then we made money on the back end 5 years later when it refinanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's such a it's a creative strategy, and I think it's something that will continue right now in this day of time with interest rates and things like that. I think this rent to even the lease option opportunities, seller finance opportunities, they'll continue to rise. And it's so when was that? That was when 10
That
years
was
ago.
that was
2011, 2012.
2011. Yeah. So, I think we'll see, and we've talked about this too on past episodes. Is we'll continue to see that rise. And I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for doing that. Even subject to is really big right now. Is taking that existing loan, putting a seller finance buyer in there to make that spread. I mean, it's definitely a powerful strategy. I want to kind of continue into that. You guys have had a lot of up and downs in real estate too, right? Which is least of the words. And so you talk to me about the highs of highs and then the lows of lows in this kind of real estate investing journey you guys have had.
I'm trying to think. There was a time in there where we were wholesaling homes. And once again, this was going to be the early 2010s. And we were we were wholesale. We were getting foreclosures under contract, assigning them to investors, and we were trying to make $5,000 between each one. These days, you can probably make a little bit more because the price is a little bit higher, et cetera. But we were trying to make $5,000 a piece, and there were months, where we were making, we were doing 7 of those, 5, 6, 7 of those a month.
Wow.
So that was fun. That was like, hey, we're getting somewhere, we're doing things. But you also have months where you do 1 of those, and
Right.
what we learned is that in real estate, and we keep hitting on it right now, there are so many creative ways to do things. There
Yeah.
are there's rentals that make money over time, and then you get the appreciation of the home. There's wholesaling, there's
Yeah.
sub twos. There are so many different ways to slice it up. and they all have ups and they all have advantages and disadvantages.
Yep.
Um, and I guess where we ended up landing is we didn't, there are some people that live for the deal, and
Yeah.
they wake up every morning and they can't wait to make another deal.
Live
Yep.
for the hustle.
Live for the hustle, you
Yeah.
know? And then there's other people that are doing it as a means to an end
Mhm.
to get out of their daily hustle or something like that. And so my point is, I know you ask about highs and lows, but the context of the highs and lows is what's your modus operandi? What are you trying to
Right.
get done? And I think where we've settled some of our best times was once we figured out, or once we got a strategy that was passive, or that things were working for us instead of us working for the things. And and I don't mean to skip so many years ahead, but now as we're dealing in the notes, man, I would rather own, I would take the exact same amount of money you're going to put into a rental and put it into a note. And I see the advantage. It's more advantageous for me. It's
Why
what
not?
I desire to ride that note and have that monthly income. As compared, now there's differences because there's tax benefits with owning the rentals. There's
Right.
appreciation, but I know on the front end of a note, I've calculated my risk. I know where I'm going to be in 5 years. I know where I'm going to be in 10 years. I know where my income is going to be, and it's I like the position it puts us in, and
Yeah,
it's
and I think I think it's a great point there. I think it's the lessons you learn through those different strategies. You're applying them here, but it's also in different times of your career and life, right? An investing journey, right? You may be early on and you are looking for that deal. You're still learning, and you're open to making those deals to get that experience. And then you learn, you know what, down the road, I just want to be passive. And then, you become, the note goats like you guys, right? So, but you're
Well,
right. It's what the profile is, how risk adverse you are, and where you are on that journey, because different strategies mean different things, And some, I'll be honest. I spoke to an investor the other day. I have a call with her later today as well. Um, and it was actually off the Quest webinar. Shout out to Quest, right?
no,
And she's a great lady, investor, definitely older lady. And we're talking about kind of the subdivision project, and you follow her buying a piece and subdividing it, right? But no, but then I kind of threw in the note ask. Well, first I talked to her about the notes, and then we talked about the subdivision project. And so she's looking at both of them, and she's like, "Listen, I know about the note stuff. It's just not fun enough for me. I
yeah,
think I want to be able to do something that's fun, to subdivide, break something down, and look at that." And so yeah, everyone has that kind of risk averseness. Some are doing it. Hey, I want to do more, be more active. We've talked about that a lot, Crystal. And she's just at a stage where she can invest passively, and she will, and she does. But she's just looking to move 100,000 just to do a fun little subdivide project to learn, right?
right,
And that goes back to your points, like all the different strategies that you've done, the wholesaling, the actual holding and buying, holding rentals, all that has given you skills, understanding of strategies, understanding of how to craft real estate transactions. But then you're landing into a place that's where you feel comfortable and where you are in your investing journey, right? So, Crystal, you wanted to add something there?
yeah, I was just going to say we also went into commercial real estate, and we got into building oil field housing facilities for Halliburton, Schlumberger, different oil field companies. And for a time, that was great, but a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for sure. We did ground up construction. We did
Wow.
everything, as well as we also, I was his sales lady. I sold for him. And
There you go.
the sales people that he had hired just weren't doing the job. And so we did everything from A to Z with getting the um, the oil companies into our facilities. And for a time that was great and exciting. And at the same time, he had started another company over in the Seychelles in
I
the
remember
Indian
that.
Ocean. It was a bottled water company, which super cool, by the way, if you've never been in the Indian Ocean and over there, absolutely gorgeous. You open up a calendar of different beaches, and they're going to have like probably 4 beaches in that calendar in the
Wow, wow,
Seychelles.
wow. Beautiful.
But that was a really cool, neat experience doing foreign business. But then he also had another startup company that was connected with the oilfield housing as well as disaster relief. And he built a mobile unit. Anyways,
Wow,
all
wow,
that
wow.
just, we did a lot, but we were very, very, very active. And over the years, I think we've just come to a place of going, we're tired of chasing that next deal for us personally. And I think it's personality, the stage of life you're in. And
Right.
we love receiving mailbox money. Now, yes, we are originating these notes, and that's exciting too on the acquisition side. But then to secure your portfolio with these notes, that's for us personally what we love. And it is not sexy. We laugh and tell people it's not sexy, but it's where we find more of our security and comfortability, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and you're gonna attract people that want that we're looking for that as well, right? I mean, in the end, there's different investors, there's different type of investors. Some want that, like, well, we had that meeting a week ago with that one physician. It's like, they want to be more active, they want to be in more control. They're not really too fond of that passive. They want to put a bunch of money and have a quick flip. So, it's different profiles, risk adverse, and I think we said today, timeline of where they're at. So I want to dig into this a little bit too. So I think this would be great for people. You guys are a couple, you guys are married, you're together, in business, investing, the highs and lows of business, also, investing, and then personal. Like, how do you guys kind of manage that? Hey, we're partners in life, but we're also partners in business. How does that work for you guys and your guys' dynamic? And any advice for, couples out there that are doing the same thing?
Not for everybody.
Okay.
We have a special relationship, and
Uh-huh.
we've been hustling together since we very first met,
Yeah.
and it works for us. I have many friends, many close friends that said I could never work that closely with my wife, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I don't wear it as a badge that I can work with my wife and you can't.
Gotcha.
But it's just our dynamic and who we are, and it works for us.
yeah, and I think we both are so different in personalities too. He is more the engineered mind, the analyzer, the money guy. I am big visionary. I'm the one, let's go, go, go. He's the one that, hey, let's reel it in first. Let's look at numbers, do the due diligence. Let's see what our risks are here. And so I think it's a good balance for us both. But we've also been through a lot with our businesses. We've lost 3 businesses and started all over. And I think that that's just a testament to with how we work, because I think most people would have split, divorced, or what we've gone through. And so, in fact, it just brought us even closer together. And so for us, we love the journey, we love the adventure and the ride together, and we're big on bringing our kids into it as well, and having our kids part of that, because for us personally, it's about leaving that legacy. I
I
know
like
we've
to.
talked about that before, but it goes beyond the two of
Few
us.
of us. And I think, listen, I think you've touched on it. It's that yin and yang. It's that balance that's important, right? And I think, it's a testament because you guys have been in the trenches together on the ups and downs of this, right? And so that's a beautiful story too, but what's some advice? Let's say there is a couple that are new to this and they want to get into business together and they want to get specifically, let's say, real estate investing and getting into it. What's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Do a deal. Get in
Do
there
it.
first and do something together. And
Do you think it's kind of picking each other's strengths, like understanding each other's strengths, right?
I
Like
was
like
gonna
like Crystal
say,
mentioned.
I don't get into his way of what he's strong at, and he doesn't get into my way what I'm strong at. We play off of each other's strengths, and then where I'm weak, he's strong, and vice versa. So I don't try to get in his lane on that. And we respect each other, and we both are very open and allow each other to have a voice too.
Okay.
And so we respect each other, allow each other to have a voice, but we also stay in our own lanes and what we do best.
I love that. That's great. That's great advice. I think, from your experience, that's really good. I think initial advice to start, right? Hey, know your guys' strengths, know what you guys handle, and, department it up and don't get in front of ways. You are on a team. And I think understanding from your guys' story is there's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows and ice cream, right? It's going to be ups and downs on the journey. And so if you're in it together, you're in it together, but understand that it's going to be a roller coaster no matter what. And that's business, right? Whether it's alone or, with your partner. So, all right, guys. So I want to kind of circle back into where we are now. You guys have got some exciting stuff to do, exciting things that you're working on. A couple of trips that you were on recently. I think you guys attended recently. Was it Fun Live in Orlando? I keep fumbling the name.
Fun launch.
Fun launch.
Yeah, Fun Launch. So talk to me about that event. I know we was kind of big hyped. I was receiving ads every 2 minutes. Of course, we've discussed, getting into the fund manager, fund development roles, with your group, my group, and maybe one day we fund a fund, right? I think it's great education. I think, I think you guys will be great at it. I think I'll be great at it as well. But it's learning, right? It's the relationships. It's the next level. I definitely see, you guys have a lot more experience than me, but I think definitely see you guys kind of stepping into that next, right? I think it's just your natural evolution. But I'd love to hear kind of what you learned. What is your number one kind of thing that that you're looking for, and some things that we were surprised about learning, right? That you didn't know. So I'd love to share kind of how that event went and your kind of what you gained from it.
Listen, it was a big event out in Orlando. Fund Launch Live. Bridger Pennington puts it on. His father started funds a long time ago. They've got a ton of family experience. And as an organization, they've helped a lot of people get some funds going.
Okay.
Venture capital funds, crypto funds, real estate, pretty much, any reason you need to raise capital for a business entrepreneurial, pursuit, you can put together a fund for it. So we got to listen to some really amazing speakers. I think probably from where we were sitting at, and by the way, there's probably 2,000 people in the room. Is a pretty big production. We appreciated the networking. You could go out in the hallway and there would be several hundred people that you could just start conversations with. And then they provided some organized networking in the evenings. I thought those opportunities were priceless. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I would say that was probably the most valuable part, was the networking. I think for us with the fund, it was great. We got to talk to attorneys that they work with, and they answered a lot of our questions, and they will walk you from A to Z on the fund. And so there was just a lot of information that we gleaned from, but I would say number one was the networking part, and we got to get a lot of great information from those that have gone through their program with the fund. Look, there's so many ways to do a fund, and with an attorney, all of that, but why try to reinvent the wheel and go I guess getting that mentorship it is so valuable.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a great lesson here. I think you're never too late or never too, you should never to be too experienced to go learn more, right?
Right.
Rick, you guys did that when you went to when you said you were going into commercial investing, you went to get a mentorship. You guys went, you always looks like seek the information, right? Because you're right, there is a blueprint to success. There is a wheel, there is a blueprint to get things done, and the closer you get to those folks, those keys get unlocked, right? And so I commend you guys kind of going for that education as this next evolution goes on, right? And these big events, I mean, the biggest thing is the people there. The education is one thing. It's how the networking that you do at these events is really where the magic happens. I've been to many events, in healthcare space, and now getting into real estate. We met at a networking event, right, Crystal? So it's like it's the people that you meet at these events. It's even bigger than what you pay to go there, or even the education that's provided there, right? And hey, at a fund event and in these type of events, those attorneys that give the free legal advice is terrific. It pays for the whole event, right?
So
And so
yeah,
because
yeah,
obviously, but yeah, exactly. They're always going to lead you to some type of
you're right.
retainer, but no, I mean, establishing a fund. I mean, the biggest piece of it is the legal, right? And if you don't set up the legal correctly from the beginning, it's some of the things that I'm learning. There can be, you have a lot of problems later on, right? And so, yeah, I think I'm glad you guys got a lot from that. And so we look forward to hearing kind of what comes from it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Also, yeah. So I mean, you guys are always working on the notes. The note goats. I do. I think you guys. Just listen. The journey you guys have been on. I really love that. You guys share that. Kind of those up and downs that you have had. I love what the things that you're sharing on LinkedIn. If you don't follow Crystal, make sure you follow her on on LinkedIn. I think sharing that story is important. I think you guys have a true purpose. I think you guys really lead that with that. And I think that's why, you guys will continue to be successful. So appreciate you guys kind of sharing some of that today with us too. And getting to know Rick too, you know?
Right.
I guess I might have to make some more appearances.
Yeah, it's about time, you know?
Hey, if we could put some comments, so if we could, if we get some requests,
Absolutely. So,
you know, I'll see if I can come back.
yeah, but definitely the Note G.O.A.T.s, Rick. Yeah, definitely. We'll have you back on again for sure. Maybe we get an update on the things on the fund, and just hey, whenever you want to drop on, I'll give you an open invite. Now, Crystal, she's got to sign off.
Yeah.
You got to get the approval from Austin.
But man, listen, you guys are real role models, man. I appreciate you guys, and I'm glad we kind of touched on kind of the couples, right? Working together, investing. And so, Crystal, I'll leave you to kind of close this out. Anything that you want to say, and just the floor is yours. Let's close this out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. And I think whether it's a partnership and as a married couple or not, just going deeper in that relationship too. Like our relationship with Anil, and just being able to go through those hard times together as you grow that relationship. And
Yeah.
I think that's what helps that foundation. I've been reading the book Go for No, and failure being not looking at failure as a bad thing, that failure is actually what gets you the success. And so we've gone through that. And so it's okay to go through failure with your partner. It's only going to grow you stronger or separate you. So
Yes, through the trenches, there's something to that, walking through the fire together. So, guys, I thank you guys for joining us, Rick for being our guest, and that's another episode of the Investors Corner with Crystal and Anil. Great job, guys. See you next
thank
time.
you.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Danielle, for having us.